You know that feeling of excitement you generally get when others get excited by something? You know how if you hear a large amount of positive feedback, you generally have your perception altered based on that? You know how sometimes your gut tells you to tell those other opinions to piss off, create your own opinion, and go in with an open mind, patience, and no specific expectations? Yeah, well, basically all of that happened. I didn't listen to my gut, got swept up in the hype, and damn it, I wish I didn't. The first episode of Loki is absolutely, by all means, a successful start to the show. But Jesus Christ, I've heard people talking about it as if it's better than WandaVision and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier combined. And I'm sorry, but it's not. But don't be swayed by that detail, as thankfully there is still plenty to enjoy inside Marvel's third entry to Disney+. So, let's get into it. The episode begins by replaying the scene from Avengers Endgame where Loki gets taken captive by the Avengers back in 2012 before he unintentionally gets his hands on the Tesseract and uses it to teleport away. After wondering where he could have gone after being left in the dark since 2019, we see him crash land in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia and almost immediately gets apprehended by some agents of the TVA, aka the Time Variance Authority. They pop him through a portal to their bureau where Loki's forced to abide by rules other than his own and follow through with some menial tasks such as signing papers to confirm everything he's ever said, though he only signs the top paper. Eventually, he reaches a room where an animated video provides some exposition by explaining what exactly the Time Variance Authority actually is and what purpose they serve. And this ended up being one of my favorite parts of the episode, as it explains there apparently used to be a war amongst the multiverses until the Timekeepers emerged and combined them all together into a single timeline, the Sacred Timeline. It goes on to mention that people who veer off their set path are referred to as variants and cause what's called a Nexus event. If said event isn't taken care of, it could cause another multiversal war. Then some guy gets disintegrated and Loki shits his pants. Okay, now before I go on, there has to be some sort of connection to WandaVision here. I mean, they have a whole commercial referring to Nexus in there, and I imagine this organization would consider Wanda's Hex to be a Nexus event, thus making her a variant that they would be attempting to track down. I'll reserve the rest of my thoughts for now, though. Moving on. So we pop over to 1549 France to get introduced to Owen Wilson's character, Agent Mobius, who's investigating some sort of an attack and interrogates a young child about who did it. And they point to a picture of a devil-looking being, which is clearly Mephisto. Alright, I'm obviously kidding. It's just amazing to me that we could still make that joke. Wouldn't it be fucking nuts if Mephisto popped up in this show instead of WandaVision? Alright, the episode. I know. Loki heads into a courtroom where he's asked to plead guilty or not guilty to his crime of fucking up the timeline, but he's really starting to get fed up with their shit and throws the Avengers under the bus for messing up the timeline instead. Which seems like a completely valid point until it's revealed that according to the Sacred Timeline, the Avengers were supposed to do all of that, but Loki was not supposed to escape. After he continuously mocks the concept of the Timekeepers and realizes he's unable to use his powers in their facility, they sentence him to be reset until Owen Wilson steps in to save him. But for what purpose, you ask? Let's see how much of that mystery the remainder of the episode explores. Owen leads Loki back to an undisclosed location, but they stop for a moment to admire the view of the insanely vast and immense homeland of the TVA. And Loki says, "I thought there was no magic here." What exactly seems magical about this place to you, bud? Yes, it's a ridiculously impressive looking layout to the city, and seems like it would have been massively time consuming to create, but there is nothing there that a bit of technology couldn't explain. I mean, I have a hard time believing he's never seen anything like that before. He also makes mention of this place being a Nightmare, but Owen says that that's a different department. Now, Nightmare is another character from the comics that the devilish depiction from earlier is more than likely referring to. He's a demon ruler of the Dream Dimension, and is the confirmed villain for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and he seems to be a character that's big enough of a deal to have a whole department dedicated to him. It's also been confirmed that this show overall is connected to the Doctor Strange sequel just as WandaVision was. The duo reaches a room so Owen, who I should probably start sticking to his character name, Mobius, can have an interrogative therapeutic session with Loki and find out why he does what he does. To provoke the God of Mischief to finally confess his true feelings, Mobius begins to play some clips of his past and his would-be future if he would have followed his set path. But this sight doesn't sit well with him as it involves the eventual death of his mother. No time to dwell on that, however. Their meeting gets interrupted and forces Mobius to leave the room, and you would never, and I mean absolutely never, guess what happens next. Loki escapes. But not for long. Basically just long enough to get the Tesseract back, which was kept with a shit ton of other Infinity Stones. Why the fuck wouldn't you grab all of those? I know they're powerless here, but you're planning to escape, so wouldn't they be awfully helpful at that point? But the agents chasing him find him, and he uses a cool little time reverser tool, though it doesn't actually reverse time, it more so just reverts you back to a physical location you previously were in time, I think? And brings himself back to the interrogation room so he can play some more clips of his set path life and watch Odin die, see himself become buddy-buddy with Thor, and eventually perish at the hands of Thanos. All of which have quite the emotional impact on him. Eventually, Mobius comes back to the room, and Loki finally lets his guard down to explain that he's only hurt people in the past because he felt he had to in order to make himself seem powerful. So what's the purpose of Mobius getting to the bottom of this mystery? Turns out he wants Loki's help to track down a dangerous variant that happens to be, drumroll please, Loki. That's right, they need him to help them track him down. He is kidding, right? He literally mentions earlier that Loki is not a dangerous variant, that he's merely a puppy dog in comparison. Maybe he means it as in this version of Loki is a puppy dog, but that version of Loki is more dangerous. But even if that's true, that's just a really odd way to word it. Plus, why does it make any sense that Mobius is aware of dogs, but that coworker of his acts like a fish is something in a foreign language? The last snippet we get is over in Salina, Oklahoma, 1858, where a team of TVA agents explore what they believe to be a possible variant, but end up getting burnt alive by a mysterious hooded character. Bet that's probably the other Loki. Then the episode ends. So, there's the breakdown of Episode 1, Glorious Purpose. Tom Hiddleston is so much fun to watch as this character, and the man could be given the worst of scripts and still probably make it sound great. You pair him next to Owen Wilson and just wow. 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 Wow, their chemistry on screen is great. The interrogation/therapy scene is easily one of the best scenes of the episode. The moment Mobius shows Loki his set path is great, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them interact more throughout the show. I love that it doesn't waste any time in diving right into the history of the multiverse and gives us that all too obvious foreshadowing that we'll be seeing it come to life sooner than later. The general vibe and the way everyone carried themselves at the TVA came off as effectively humorous, and it was refreshing to see how all-powerful yet unknowledgeable they were, like they weren't even aware what the Tesseract was and treated it like a piece of junk.
Oh, we actually got a lot of those. Yeah, some of the guys use them as paperweights.
Side note, seriously, where the fuck did they get all those Infinity Stones from? The episode does a great job of giving us so many familiar settings and events merged perfectly with a very alien-like setting, and all things considered, it was an enjoyable time and an episode that definitely intrigued me to see where it progresses to. I liked it. So why did I kick this whole thing off the way I did and made it sound like maybe it's not that great? It's not necessarily because the episode isn't great, it's strictly to emphasize how you should never let the hype, good or bad, dictate your own opinion. At the end of the day, not a whole lot happened in this episode to justify such an insanely overwhelming reaction in my opinion. Sadly, when you say that, the first thought is, oh, so it wasn't that good. No, it was good. Just not, oh my god, it's the best Disney Plus show yet good. Maybe it will be. Shit, I hope it is. But I think we need to give ourselves a chance to really take this in without just assuming it's already the best thing since sliced bread. But of course, I would love to know your opinion on this episode and where you think this series is going. How much more of a connection to the Doctor Strange sequel do you think we'll get? What other characters are you theorizing will make an appearance? And don't forget the most important question of all, are we ever going to hear Mobius say, wow. 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 Like this video if you enjoyed the content, subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you can keep up with the breakdowns for future episodes, and I'll catch you at the next review.